Hi there y'all, I'm Tom, and I forgot to film the intro for this recipe, so you get to see it from a slightly different setup here behind my computer desk. But still, this is Empty Pantry Entrees, the best place for you to learn all the skills you need to make delicious creations from only the odds and ends in your pantry. In today's episode, we're going to be making a fantastically savory shrimp and mushroom risotto, but we're going to be doing things a little bit different by avoiding the traditional arborio rice. Am I potentially changing the dish fundamentally because I'm swapping out the ideal and staple ingredient that's known to have the ideal starch content for the chewy and creamy texture that the dish is known for? Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying we're gonna do. All you really need to make a halfway decent risotto, or whatever you want to call a non-arborio rice risotto, is just a short-grained rice with a relatively high starch content to give you that creaminess on the outside while also maintaining that slight crunch and texture to it. An al dente sort of rice, if you will. You know, if anyone has any problems with your non-arborio rice because they are for some reason a risotto purist, then they simply cannot have any of your delicious adult mac and cheese. So with all that said and done, I think it's about time for us to move on. Alrighty, let's get on down to it. For today's recipe, I'll be serving the risotto up with a side of roasted green beans that have definitely made their appearance on the channel before, so we're just gonna kind of coast right through them. Clean them up on both sides with a knife, toss them into a mixing bowl, and douse in about 1 tablespoon of olive oil. Maybe half a teaspoon of salt and pepper, and then admittedly, probably too much paprika in my case. Might have accidentally gone a touch overboard, but I promise you, they turned out just fine for me. Mixy that all up to combine, then line a baking sheet with aluminum foil, spray the foil down to prevent stickage, and lay your beans down. Set them to the side so we have them ready when we need them later on down the line. In the meantime though, let's start on mise en place for our risotto. Essentially getting everything all chopped up and prepared so that it's ready when we need it and we're not wasting time when stuff is burning on the stovetop, going about our chopping and everything. Start with a small white onion, sliced, deskinned, and finely diced. Getting these real small so that we can more quickly caramelize them in our base. Next up is going to be our baby bella mushrooms, fresh from their rinse in the sink. Pop off those stems, but don't let them go too far now. Thinly slice your way through about 8 ounces of those mushrooms and set them aside into a prep cup. Those stalks are also going to be thinly sliced as well because, there's no sense in wasting them. After that, you'll roll a lemon to wake up the juices, rip off the identifying label, then give it a good old scratchy to harvest the oddly delicious lemon zest. Slice that citrus in two, then squeeze to extract the lemon juice. And now we're bringing back the good old enameled cast iron Dutch oven that really hasn't been used in quite some time on the channel. While that is preheating though, we can get our shrimp ready. Deveined and peeled to make our lives much easier. Simply toss them into a colander and bathe them in lukewarm water to thaw them out. No hot water here because we don't want to start the cooking process too early. Siphon off about 4 to 5 cups of water, and we're going to be using that with some chicken bouillon to, make the broth for our risotto. About a heaping teaspoon or so of better than bouillon paste mixed in and brought to a gentle simmer. Start off with a smaller amount of bouillon paste and add more to taste. Now with our Dutch oven fully preheated, we'll smack on in about a tablespoon or so of olive oil. That is immediately followed by our diced onions and mushrooms. Mix that all around to start the caramelization process and hit with just a dash of salt and pepper to aid in the moisture extraction and seasoning for the base of the sauté. Let that simmer for about 3 to 6 minutes, stirring occasionally while we talk rice. Like I said, sushi rice, a nice and starchy short grain rice that we're going to intentionally skip rinsing to maintain that starch coating. Set aside 1.5 cups of rice, and we'll get to portion out a bit of wine for ourselves. Think like a crisper white wine, avoiding anything too sugary that would overpower the risotto. You can kinda tell from my face, I'm more of a red wine guy, but hey, this Dark Horse Sauvignon Blanc is going to be perfect for this recipe. 1/3 of a cup portioned out, and we're heading back to the stovetop where we've slightly burnt our sauté. No worries though, we'll deglaze it down the line and it'll be alright. Swoop on in the rice, toss a few times and let the rice develop a slightly toasted brown exterior, then sprinkle in a pinch or two of lemon zest from earlier, and deglaze the bottom of the pot with our white wine. With 20 minutes left in the recipe, toss your green beans into the preheated 400-degree oven that I may have forgotten to tell you about to turn on earlier, so I hope you did that already. From here on out, the risotto is a game of adding in 1/4 cup of chicken broth in at a time and stirring frequently over a low heat. Over the course of the next 15 to 20 minutes, you'll see to it that about 4 to 5 cups of chicken broth is added into the rice. And around now is when I realized that I am in fact a big dum-dum and forgot to saute our onions and mushrooms with garlic. So uncharacteristic of me to forget the minced garlic. Scooping it into the Dutch oven once we've cooked off all the raw garlic smell. Like I said, stir the pot often and add broth little by little. You'll want to keep the pot around the consistency of an oatmeal all the way through the process. Now for your shrimp, we'll use the same garlic pan that we had started. Bring in a bit of butter and olive oil, then slide your shrimp and saute away on a medium-high heat for 3 to 5 minutes. A little bit of salt and pepper, not forgetting the garlic mince this time, and about 1 to 2 tablespoons of lemon juice once the shrimp have cooked through and turned pink. You'll know your risotto is done once it's cooked through and it has a slight chew to it, almost kind of like an al dente pasta. And once you get to this point, you can layer in a whole lot of goodness at the end. About a half a teaspoon or so of paprika, the remainder of your 2 tablespoons of total butter, a sizable cup of Parmesan cheese, and mix all to combine. Plate this all up into a big bowl and then top with even more goodness. A number of your garlic lemon shrimpies, a smidgen of lightly dried parsley, lemon zest, and minced green onion. And then of course, a touch more of Parmesan cheese because you can never get enough of it. Finally, layer in those green beans on the side. Now, I'll be the first to say this, but you don't come to risotto hoping for a healthy dinner. You come to risotto to fill yourself with happiness, butter, and carbs, which is precisely why we garnish with so many greens and lemon zest. Gotta balance everything out, you know? Only thing that would really help to take this to the next level would be a little glass of that Sauvignon Blanc to lighten up the palate between bites. And definitely one of the best parts about using wine in the cooking process is pairing it with a final dish. This risotto was absolutely delectable and savory, a restaurant quality luxury prepared in the comforts of home. And now it's taking me a second for me to get my thoughts together for this taste test, but that's probably just because there was the overwhelming wave of flavor and deliciousness and savory. Just, you know, takes a second for the brain to load. Honestly, a little bit more butter. I hate to say it.
That's funny.
It's really good, but it could use just like a little bit more. A little bit more butter. But those shrimp are fantastic. With the fresh lemon juice. That was a good one. Okay. Done talking to the internet.